Hey everybody, it's Joe Hirsch with this week's edition of The Digital Dish, your window into our world. What a great return to school we had this week. After a couple of weeks of winter vacation, students got right back down to business as they began a comprehensive unit on the laws of brachot as explored through the 6th chapter of Masechet Brachot, the Mishnah that we're studying this year. In it, students had a chance to test some prior knowledge of the various brachot, blessings that are recited on food items, and the Mishnah provides the guidelines for why those brachot are selected for various food types. In addition, through other Mishnayot that we studied, students had a chance to look at what happens when a bracha goes bad. If the wrong bracha is recited, is there any recourse? And here, this gave us a chance to learn some new vocabulary terms like lechatchila, b'di'eved, words that mean whether a bracha should be acceptable ideally or even after the fact, and to examine two types of bad brachot, a bracha levatala, a wasted bracha which has absolutely no purpose, or a bracha she'eino tzricha, an irrelevant or unnecessary bracha, one that could theoretically work, just not in these circumstances. Beyond looking at the minutiae of these laws, which we'll continue to explore next week in subsequent Mishnayot through careful in-text analysis, we looked at the bigger picture of why we recite blessings, to develop an attitude of gratitude, to be careful and mindful about what we say and how we interact with Hashem, to develop the right mindset for gratitude, for all the blessings that we receive in our life on a day-to-day basis. Getting back to business in Chumash, students had a chance to continue their in-depth analysis of Parshat Miketz. We're coming up on the close there. And through differentiated instruction, getting the right size of education, students worked in skill-specific groups to unpack meaning from the text, to work through our texting notebooks, and then ultimately in the Chumash itself to read, analyze, and ultimately discuss various issues that emerged from the very end of Parshat Miketz, which brings us face to face with the conclusion of Yosef's plan to determine whether or not his brothers were actually sincerely apologetic for all that they had done to him 17 years earlier. Your children will really love sharing the Chumash story through a careful reading with you. Be sure to read with them over the course of Shabbat, or to hear highlights from Parshat Miketz with them over the course of Shabbat as well. But if it's Shabbat, that means that it's time for Parsha Spotlight, and this week we took a look at a Midrash mystery, the plague of frogs, Svardeya. In fact, when the Torah presents this plague, it presents it in somewhat of an ambiguous fashion, sometimes referring to one frog and sometimes referring to many frogs. So what was it? Was it one or was it many? We took a look at the text, we took a look at Rashi's interpretation using a Midrash to better understand what it meant and why it mattered. Your children will really love sharing that with you over the course of Shabbat as well. So glad that we're back to business here in fourth grade. Looking forward to an amazing second half of the year with your children. Thank you for sharing them, and thank you for partnering with me in your child's education. Have a wonderful Shabbat, and I look forward to continuing to share exciting news from fourth grade with you in next week's Digital Dish.